What if I told you that some of the most powerful corporations on Earth are currently fighting each other over a single name? Not a movie star. Not a supermodel. Not a legacy athlete who spent 20 years building a legacy. A 20-year-old tennis player from Quezon City who walked into one of the biggest tournaments in the world as a nobody and walked out as a phenomenon. The name they are all fighting over is Alex Eala. And here is the question nobody is actually asking. When billion-dollar brands go to war over a young woman, who is really winning? Because there are two stories happening simultaneously right now. One story is breathtaking. One story is dangerous. And if you only know one of them, you do not know Alex Eala at all. So buckle in, because we are going all the way to the beginning. Before Nike put their logo on her. Before Babolat handed her a racket. Before Milo, before BPI, before Locally Juice, before magazine covers and sold-out fan crowds filling the stands at Indian Wells and Dubai, there was a little girl. 8 years old. Quezon City, Philippines. And she was already signing brand deals. That company was Globe Telecom. That little girl was Alexandra Mano Eala. Let that sentence sit in your chest for a moment. 8 years old and already a brand ambassador. Most children at 8 are still figuring out what they want to be when they grow up. Alex Eala already had a corporate contract. But this was not luck. This was not a gimmick. This was a family that saw something extraordinary long before the rest of the world had any idea what was coming. Her mother Riza was not just a parent cheering from the bleachers. She was the chief financial officer of Globe Telecom until 2024 and a former national swimmer who won a bronze medal at the 1985 SEA Games. Her father Mike was a businessman. Her brother Michael played college tennis at Pennsylvania State University. This was a household built on discipline, on competition, on the deeply Filipino belief that excellence is not accidental. It is constructed, day by day, choice by choice, long before anyone is watching. And Alex grew up inside that construction. She trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. Do you understand what that means? The same institution that shaped the greatest clay court player in the history of the sport sharpened her forehand, refined her footwork, and taught her how to compete at the highest possible level. She was absorbing the philosophy of a 14-time French Open champion before she was old enough to drive a car. By 2019, when Alex was just 14 years old, Nike had already seen enough. The most powerful sportswear brand on the planet, the brand that built Michael Jordan into a religion, that made Serena Williams into a cultural institution, that turned sport itself into a global lifestyle, signed Alex Eala not as a regional endorser, not as a local face for Southeast Asia, but as a global ambassador. Global. At 14. That single fact tells you everything about what Nike's internal analysts believed they were looking at. Then in 2022, Babolat, the French racket company that supplied Rafael Nadal across every single one of his 22 Grand Slam victories, handed her a full racket sponsorship. She plays with the Babolat Pure Aero. The same DNA. The same lineage. The same brand that watched Nadal dismantle every opponent on every surface for 2 decades is now watching Alex Eala walk onto court with their name on her bag. That same year, BPI, the Bank of the Philippine Islands, one of the oldest and most respected financial institutions in Southeast Asia, brought her on as a brand ambassador, using her image to inspire financial discipline and responsibility among young Filipinos. By 17, Alex Eala had more legitimate corporate backing than most professional athletes accumulate in an entire career. But here is the truth about early sponsorships that nobody talks about when they celebrate them. They can evaporate instantly the moment the results stop. Brands do not stay out of sentiment. They stay for numbers. And for a significant stretch of 2025, those numbers were causing concern. Early round exits in Mumbai, Oeiras, Madrid, Rome, Birmingham, Nottingham, Canada, Wuhan, Japan, Guangzhou, and Antwerp. Loss after loss. The whispers started. Was this all just marketing? Was the hype constructed on junior titles and a famous training academy and a family name rather than genuine WTA-level ability? Were the brands going to quietly walk away when the story stopped trending? And then March 2025 happened. And the entire conversation changed forever. Picture the scene. The WTA 1000 Miami Open. One of the 5 biggest tournaments on the women's tour outside the Grand Slams. The cameras are tracking Iga Swiatek. The pre-match conversations are about Coco Gauff and Madison Keys. The media coverage is flowing toward the established names, the proven champions, the women the world already knows and already fears. And somewhere in the draw is a wild card. A 20-year-old qualifier from the Philippines that exactly 0 people are discussing as a threat. And she starts winning. Not squeaking through. Not surviving. Dismantling. Round after round, opponents who should by every logical measure be too experienced, too powerful, and too tested for her are walking off the court in shock. And then the match that stopped the tennis world completely. Alex Eala, wild card, walks onto a court against Aryna Sabalenka. 5-time Grand Slam champion. Former world number 1. The dominant force in women's tennis for 3 consecutive seasons. And Alex Eala beats her. She does not edge past her. She beats her with a kind of aggressive, front-foot, controlled chaos tennis that you do not learn overnight. That you learn at a place like the Rafa Nadal Academy over years of punishment and repetition and belief. Her forehand, the weapon she has been building since she was a child, dictates every single rally. She refuses to be intimidated by a name. She refuses to respect a reputation more than she respects her own preparation. She beats Sabalenka. Then she beats Yelena Ostapenko. Then she beats Madison Keys, the reigning Australian Open champion. She reaches the semi-finals of a WTA 1000 event as a wild-card entry. Do you feel how insane that is? This is not a Cinderella story. Cinderella got lucky. This is a demolition. This is a player who had been training for this moment since she was 8 years old, finally arriving at the stage big enough to show the world exactly what she is. Her social media following explodes past 350,000 and keeps climbing. Filipino fans, who are already the loudest, most committed, most emotionally invested tennis support base in the sport, mobilize in a way the tour has never witnessed from a single nation behind a single player. They are staying up until midnight, sitting in freezing cold outside stadiums, painting their faces, waving flags, filling practice sessions with noise and love so overwhelming that grown athletes described it as moving. At Indian Wells in 2026, Eala herself described it directly. It means the world to have this community behind her in such a prestigious tournament, that they make the effort to stay up late and stand in the cold to cheer her on, and that it genuinely added to the feelings and the emotions of every single match. And the brands are watching all of this with extremely wide eyes. Every account manager, every marketing director, every chief commercial officer at every major global company is staring at the same spreadsheet and asking the same question. How do we get our name next to hers before someone else does? Sky Sports lead presenter Gigi Salmon said it out loud at a Sky Sports tennis event in London. She said that in terms of appeal and the crowds that follow her, Alex Eala might already be the biggest star in the sport. Not the most successful. Not the highest ranked. The biggest star. That is marketing language. That is the language of billion-dollar contracts. And once that sentence landed on a major broadcast platform, the floodgates tore open. In July 2025, Locally Juice, a Filipino beverage brand, officially announced her as brand ambassador, anchoring her identity to homegrown pride and the rise of Philippine consumer culture. Nike, meanwhile, refused to simply be her outfitter. For her Wimbledon debut, they created something that felt less like a product and more like a love letter. A custom hair tie, handcrafted in the shape of the sampaguita blossom, the national flower of the Philippines. A billion-dollar corporation pausing the machine to celebrate the national identity of a 20-year-old athlete through a single piece of handmade design. That moment went viral globally. Then in August, Nike released a limited edition shirt designed by Filipino artist Georgina Emu, featuring the sampaguita laid over the grass courts of the All England Club. The shirt sold out. The story circled the globe. The brand war had reached full intensity. But stop right there. Because before we go any further, you need to understand something that is more emotionally significant than any deal announcement. In February 2026, Alex Eala became the newest brand ambassador for Milo Philippines. If you are from the West, you might think Milo is just a chocolate malt drink. You would be wrong. In the Philippines, across Southeast Asia, in millions of homes and schools and sports fields, Milo is not a product. Milo is childhood. Milo is sport. Milo is the brand that has been showing up at school athletics carnivals, community marathons, and grassroots youth clinics for over 60 years. Milo is the drink Filipino parents hand their children before training. Milo is the brand that built the infrastructure of Filipino grassroots sport before there was any other infrastructure to speak of. The launch event on February 22nd at SM Megamall in Manila was electric. The nationwide campaign kicked off with a call for all Filipinos to go from couch to court. The new television commercial featured pole vault legend E.J. Obaina alongside their newest face. But here is the detail that made people cry on social media. Alex Eala did not just become a Milo ambassador. She was a Milo child. She participated in the Milo sports clinics. She ran in the Milo Little Olympics. She drank that drink. She competed in those programs. And now, at 20 years old, ranked world number 29, the highest any Filipino has ever been ranked in WTA history, she is the face of the exact same brand that handed her a racket at a community sports event when she was still a little girl dreaming of something bigger than anyone around her could see. The internet did not know whether to weep or erupt. It did both at once. But here is where the story gets dark. Here is the chapter that makes the warmth of the Milo moment collide violently with something much uglier. Because at the exact same time that Milo was announcing this authentic, historically significant partnership, another story about Alex Eala was spreading across Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and it had absolutely nothing to do with reality. Social media posts began circulating claiming that Wilson Sporting Goods had offered Alex Eala a $45 million endorsement deal, which he had accepted and planned to donate to those in need. The post was written with manufactured quotes attributed directly to her, in Filipino, designed to read like a real statement. That post received over 103,000 likes, over 6,700 comments, and over 3,100 shares. Hundreds of thousands of Filipinos believed it. It was completely fabricated. There was no official statement. There was no deal. There was no announcement. The quote was invented. But it did not stop there. A separate wave of posts then claimed that Abu Dhabi billionaire Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan had offered Eala a $1.6 billion contract, $1 billion as a down payment and $600 million annually, to remain in the UAE and serve as the queen of a newly imagined Abu Dhabi Diamond Tennis Championship. $1.6 billion. For a 20-year-old tennis player. And people shared it. Thousands of them. Not because the numbers were remotely plausible. Because the hunger to see a Filipino athlete validated, celebrated, and rewarded by the world at the highest imaginable level was so intense and so sincere that critical thinking quietly stepped aside. Here is the pattern that emerges when you look at the timeline. Every single time Alex Eala wins a significant match or climbs the rankings or competes at a high-profile venue, a wave of fabricated sponsorship stories follows within 48 hours. The fake numbers get bigger every cycle. First 45 million. Then 1.6 billion. The manufactured quotes get more theatrical. The patriotism gets weaponized to bypass skepticism. And the most disturbing part is this: the misinformation does not just mislead. It actively works against the real story. It drowns out the truth with noise that is louder, more emotionally satisfying, and more shareable than reality. Her real achievements are extraordinary. They are historic. They do not require embellishment. But the viral misinformation machine does not care about extraordinary. It cares about extraordinary plus impossible. So let us strip every fabricated number away. Let us put down the manufactured billions and the invented quotes and look clearly at what is actually happening in the real world, because the real world is already more stunning than anything a social media page could invent. As of March 2026, Alex Eala holds a career-high WTA singles ranking of world number 29, achieved on March 16, 2026. She is the highest-ranked Filipino in WTA Tour history. The first Filipino to break into the top 30. The first Filipino to record multiple wins over top 10 players and Grand Slam champions. The first Filipino to reach a tour-level final in the Open era. Her verified sponsor portfolio includes Nike, Babolat, Globe Telecom, BPI, Locally Juice, and now Milo, each partnership carrying genuine strategic weight and authentic cultural resonance. And filtering through the tennis industry right now are credible reports that major A-list global companies are studying her story and seeing strong structural parallels to Emma Raducanu after the 2021 US Open. Think carefully about what that comparison actually means. Raducanu won the US Open at 18 as a qualifier. She became one of the most commercially valuable female athletes on the planet almost overnight. multiple billion-dollar brands entered a simultaneous bidding war for her name. And Raducanu's commercial value was never purely about tennis results. It was about story, heritage, underdog triumph, youth, intelligence, cultural crossover, and the complete package that no advertising budget can manufacture from scratch. The brands studying Eala right now see the exact same architecture. Filipino identity. Rafa Nadal Academy training. Grand Slam Junior title. Miami Miracle run. Rising WTA ranking. A passionate and growing fan base spanning the Philippines, Japan, and China. And a global story that makes her a legitimate target for some of the biggest companies on earth looking for their next transformational ambassador. Her career prize money already sits at approximately $1.36 million as of late 2025. That is the floor. The ceiling, built on endorsements, brand equity, and the kind of cultural significance that no marketing spend can create, is something else entirely. Because you cannot purchase what Alex Eala represents. You cannot manufacture the story of a girl who drank Milo at community clinics and grew up to become the highest-ranked Filipino player in tennis history. You cannot invent the image of Nike designing a handcrafted Sampaguita hair tie for your Wimbledon debut. You cannot recreate the emotion of thousands of Filipinos standing in the freezing cold past midnight to cheer for one of their own. That is not a sponsorship arrangement. That is a movement. We have come an enormous distance from the 8-year-old girl signing her first contract with Globe Telecom in a Quezon City office. And yet, when you see the full picture, the thread connecting that moment to this one is perfectly straight. It is discipline. It is family. It is a country that believed in her before the world had any reason to. But let us be completely honest about the weight that comes with this story. Because every great rise carries a cost that does not make the highlight reel. The fake news surrounding Eala is not harmless entertainment. It is a symptom of a dangerous pressure that rests on her shoulders every time she walks onto a court. The pressure to be not just exceptional but impossibly, legendarily, fictionally exceptional. The pressure to match numbers invented by anonymous accounts but believed by millions of real people. The pressure of an entire nation's pride funneled through a single 20-year-old body that is still learning, still growing, still figuring out simultaneously how to be extraordinary and how to simply be human. She lost in the first round of the 2026 Australian Open. She fell to Linda Noskova in the fourth round at Indian Wells. She was beaten by Coco Gauff in Dubai. These are facts. They matter. Not because they diminish what she has built, but because they remind us that the story is still being written. That world number 29 is not the destination. That the Milo campaign is not the climax. It is the beginning of what comes next. Every brand whose logo currently sits on Alex Eala is not investing in what she has already achieved. They are investing in what is still coming. And the question we are leaving you with today is one we genuinely want you to think about and answer below. With the biggest corporations on earth circling her name, with fabricated billions being shared by millions, and with Alex Eala climbing faster than any Filipino in the history of the sport, is she being protected? Or is the combined weight of a nation's real expectations and a viral machine's manufactured ones already too much for one 20-year-old to carry alone? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because this is a conversation that actually matters. And if this video gave you the real story instead of the clickbait version, hit subscribe, because on this channel, the truth is always the most powerful thing we have to offer.